Can you believe it? An ultimate loser who's been single for 500 years, whose most expensive possession is a 3-year pair of underwear, actually turned down the marriage proposal from richest female CEO in the entire universe, Xiao Chen. An ordinary low-level employee at a top-tier conglomerate. In the eyes of outsiders, he was just a slacker who coasted at work and had no ambition. But no one knew that in the online world, he and a girl with the screen name Fox Spirit Little Red had been in a private online relationship for over half a year. Online, Fox Spirit Little Red was gentle and considerate, understanding and empathetic. They talked about everything, their souls deeply in sync. Xiao Chen had long considered her his girlfriend. They just hadn't met offline yet, so he'd never seen her real face. At the company in real life, the one who held absolute power was the top beauty CEO, Shen Hongling. Shen Hongling was stunningly beautiful, worth billions, and held immense power. Every male employee in the company trembled in her presence and barely dared to breathe. Everyone believed that this female CEO was cold, aloof, and unapproachable. She wouldn't give any man a second glance. But strange things had started happening recently. Shen Hongling, who was icy to everyone, had suddenly taken an interest in the low-level employee, Xiao Chen. During meetings, her gaze would unconsciously fall on him. When it came to work arrangements, she issued a special order that Xiao Chen no longer needed to sit in the regular employee area and was to move directly into her own office. The moment this news spread, the entire company exploded. All the male colleagues were envious and burning with jealousy. Many department heads who considered themselves superior, rich second-generation heirs, and male colleagues came forward to mock Xiao Chen. They said he must have gotten incredibly lucky, or used some underhanded method to suck up to the CEO. How could a low-level slacker be worthy of the CEO's office? He was probably just a bootlicker who latched onto her coattails. Faced with the sneers and mockery from the crowd, Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered with them. He shot right back. These people, who spent their days flattering others, were nowhere near as sharp or insightful as half of him. A few sharp retorts left the troublemakers red-faced and speechless. They slunk away in disgrace. Next, Shen Hongling's pursuit became more and more aggressive. After work, she'd ask Xiao Chen to come back to her luxury home with her. During lunch breaks, she'd bring him gourmet food. She even told him directly that she wanted to eat fish. She kept dropping hints, one after another. Xiao Chen was filled with confusion. He was just an ordinary worker. No money, no status. Why would this high and mighty female CEO keep making such advances toward him? He still had his online girlfriend, Fox Spirit Little Red, on his mind. So he repeatedly and clearly rejected the CEO's advances. One day, inside the CEO's office, with no one else around, Shen Hongling could no longer contain her feelings. She strode forward, grabbed Xiao Chen by the collar, and forcefully pressed him against the wide desk. Her stunning face was inches from his, her gaze burning. "Xiao Chen, be my boyfriend." Xiao Chen struggled desperately. "President, please don't do this. I already have an online girlfriend." Just as Xiao Chen thought that mentioning his online girlfriend would stop the CEO's advances, a shocking twist arrived. Shen Hongling's lips curled into a knowing smile. She said calmly, "That online girlfriend you mentioned, it's fine." She agreed. Xiao Chen's mind went blank, his face full of disbelief. His pupils dilated wildly. His whole body froze. "How do you know about my online girlfriend? How could you possibly know?" The next second, a earth-shattering statement hit Xiao Chen's ears. "Because I am Fox Spirit Little Red." Like a bolt from the blue, Xiao Chen was stunned in place, his brain buzzing. The online lover he'd been longing for and chatting with every day, that gentle and lovely Fox Spirit Little Red, was actually in real life this high and mighty Ice Queen CEO of the group, Shen Hongling. Online, a sweet and soft girl. Offline, a domineering female CEO. Two completely contrasting identities were actually the same person. The shock overwhelmed Xiao Chen. All the little moments from their online chats over the past 6 months flashed through his mind in an instant. Finally, all the puzzles were solved. Why Shen Hongling paid extra attention to him. Why she treated him so specially. It turned out that from the very beginning, the person he'd been flirting with online was the very person in front of him. Shen Hongling looked at Xiao Chen's shocked and dazed expression. She was also feeling anxious. She'd been hiding her true identity, afraid that once Xiao Chen knew she was the high and mighty CEO, he'd feel a distance and reject her outright. So she'd only interacted with him through her online persona, until she could no longer suppress her feelings for him, and started approaching him in real life. Just then, footsteps sounded outside the office door. Several senior executives and the rich kid department manager who'd been jealous of Xiao Chen happened to be coming to report to the CEO. They pushed open the door and walked right in on the scene. They witnessed the female CEO pressing Xiao Chen against the desk. Everyone froze on the spot, their eyes nearly popping out. That ordinary, low-level slacker of an employee was actually in that position with the Ice Queen CEO. The rich kid manager's jealousy raged, and a deep hatred was planted. He vowed silently to teach Xiao Chen a lesson and bring down this arrogant nobody. After the truth was revealed, Xiao Chen's mind took a long time to settle. On one hand, the online lover he'd spent so much time with, whose soul was in sync with his. On the other hand, the reality was a massive status gap. With the Ice Queen CEO who ran a huge corporation, Shen Hongling. Two completely different images kept swirling in Xiao Chen's mind. For a while, he still hadn't fully processed this explosive truth. The executives who'd walked in quickly lowered their heads, not daring to look. But the rich kid manager, Zhao Kai, stared fixedly at Xiao Chen, his face full of envy and malice. Zhao Kai came from a wealthy family, with a distinguished background. He'd been relentlessly pursuing Shen Hongling, giving gifts and confessing his love many times, all of which Shen Hongling had coldly rejected. In his mind, only he was worthy of Shen Hongling. But now, he'd seen with his own eyes the goddess he couldn't have, pursuing a low-level employee of her own accord. Intense jealousy clouded his mind. Shen Hongling quickly composed herself, returning to her cold CEO demeanor. She released Xiao Chen's collar and acted as if nothing had happened. She continued handling company business, but everyone could see the CEO's attitude toward Xiao Chen was completely different. Zhao Kai kept his cool on the surface, but he was already plotting his underhanded schemes against Xiao Chen. He was determined that at the upcoming company banquet, he would publicly humiliate Xiao Chen and expose his true nature of latching onto the CEO. He'd ruin Xiao Chen's reputation in front of everyone and get him fired. Xiao Chen naturally saw the hostility in Zhao Kai's eyes, but he wasn't afraid in the slightest. Although he usually seemed like a slacker, if someone came looking for trouble, he was never one to back down. A few days later, the group's grand business banquet was held as scheduled. It was attended by tycoons and big shots from all industries, business elites, and celebrities. Zhao Kai, with his superior background, was in his element at the banquet, networking everywhere. Many people rushed to flatter him. At the banquet, Xiao Chen attended with Shen Hongling. Everyone there was surprised to see Xiao Chen standing beside her, a low-level employee, actually standing next to the female CEO. This was unheard of. Zhao Kai seized the opportunity and walked up to them publicly. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he confronted Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, do you know what kind of occasion this is? This is a top-tier business banquet. Not everyone is qualified to stand here. A low-level employee making a few thousand a month. What right do you have to stand beside President Chen? Don't think that sucking up to the boss will let you climb the ladder overnight. Zhang Kai's voice was loud, and every guest heard him clearly. All eyes turned to watch, waiting for Xiao Chen to be humiliated. a smug smile on his face. Zhao Kai was confident that Xiao Chen had no background or connections, and would have no choice but to bow his head in shame. Others joined in the mockery, sneering at Xiao Chen for overestimating himself. Exactly. The status gap is clear. Yet he insists on pushing himself in. Kid, face reality. The elite circle isn't for you. Faced with everyone's mockery, Xiao Chen remained calm, without any panic. Before Shen Hongling could step in to defend him, Xiao Chen stepped forward, his presence fully unleashed. He retorted on the spot. What right? The right that Shen Hongling is willing to stand by my side. Does attending this banquet require a pedigree check? In business, what matters is skill, not the wealth you inherit from your family. Relying on your father's connections to strut around is no real skill. A few simple, powerful sentences struck back, leaving Zhao Kai's face alternating between pale and red, furious and humiliated. Zhao Kai pressed further. Stop talking nonsense. What achievements can you even show? You've done nothing but slack off. Why do you deserve special treatment? Xiao Chen sneered and dropped the key point. In the company's project evaluations, several of my proposals were highly praised by President Shen. 2 of them have generated tens of millions in revenue for the group. All the internal files can be checked. You, Zhao Kai, have departmental resources and a whole team under you. How many of your projects have produced anything decent? With that statement, the entire room fell silent. Many senior executives within the group knew that Xiao Chen's proposals were indeed impressive. On the other hand, Zhao Kai, who'd coasted to his position on his family name, had mediocre results, with many projects being carried by his subordinates. With his shortcomings exposed, Zhao Kai was utterly humiliated. He was furious and tried to keep threatening Xiao Chen. Just then, Shen Hongling stepped forward and stood right beside Xiao Chen. Her presence silenced the entire room. Xiao Chen is someone I value. He's here tonight on my invitation. Anyone who has a problem with him has a problem with me. The Ice Queen CEO publicly defended him with one statement. She set the tone. The crowd was stunned. The guests who'd been mocking him moments before fell silent, not daring to say another word. Zhao Kai's face burned. Having been publicly humiliated, his pride shattered. He had no choice but to swallow his anger. His hatred for Xiao Chen grew even deeper. After the banquet, Shen Hongling looked at Xiao Chen. Thank you for handling that. You didn't need me to step in. Xiao Chen smiled slightly. If someone wants trouble with me, I won't just take it lying down. After this incident, everyone in the company understood one thing. Xiao Chen was the CEO's person. No one could touch him lightly. But Xiao Chen knew Zhao Kai wouldn't let it go. This was only the beginning. He would surely use more underhanded tactics in the future. Having suffered a major loss at the banquet, Zhao Kai couldn't swallow his pride. He couldn't bear to see Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling getting closer. He began plotting a vicious trap to crush Xiao Chen completely. Zhao Kai used his family's connections to collude with the group's competitors and devised a scheme. He planned to fabricate project flaws and frame Xiao Chen for leaking trade secrets. If the charge of leaking commercial secrets stuck, Xiao Chen wouldn't just be fired. He'd face legal consequences, and his reputation would be ruined. To make the trap flawless, Zhao Kai bribed a colleague in Xiao Chen's department to act as an insider. They sent a seemingly lucrative partnership document to Xiao Chen's work email. The document was rigged. If Xiao Chen opened it, a digital trail would be left. Then the competitor would simultaneously leak the group's internal commercial data. All the evidence would point to Xiao Chen. The inside colleague also pretended to be friendly, encouraging Xiao Chen, saying this was a rare opportunity, and urging him to study the document carefully to achieve great results. Other colleagues joined in, egging Xiao Chen on to seize this chance. Any ordinary person seeing such a good project document, would probably take the bait. But Xiao Chen was cautious. After the banquet incident, he was already on guard against Zhao Kai's tricks. Receiving this suspicious email, Xiao Chen immediately sensed something was wrong. No such thing as a free lunch. Good fortune doesn't fall out of nowhere. Xiao Chen didn't open the core files. He kept calm, pretending to be persuaded, playing along, to mislead the inside colleague, making him think he'd fallen for the trap. At the same time, Xiao Chen secretly saved all the original email records, screenshots, and logs, securing all the evidence of the scheme. Meanwhile, Zhao Kai, thinking his plan was flawless, felt smug, and waited for the trap to spring. He'd already planned that once the leak was exposed, he'd be the first to step up and accuse Xiao Chen, demanding severe punishment and kicking him out. Sure enough, just one day later, explosive news broke. A key preliminary business plan of the group was obtained by a competitor in advance, who then released a similar proposal, seizing the market first-mover advantage, causing huge potential losses to the group. When the news reached the company, the entire management was shaken. Zhao Kai immediately jumped out, using some prefabricated evidence, and publicly accused Xiao Chen. He insisted Xiao Chen was the leaker. The evidence is solid. The email records are right here. Xiao Chen leaked the plan. He must be severely punished. At the emergency executive meeting, Zhao Kai went on the attack. Several managers with ties to the Deng family joined in and pressured for Xiao Chen's immediate dismissal and accountability. All of a sudden, all fingers pointed at Xiao Chen. The situation looked dire, as if Xiao Chen couldn't defend himself. Zhao Kai was full of glee, believing the game was won, and Xiao Chen was doomed. Just as everyone thought Xiao Chen was about to fall, Xiao Chen calmly stepped forward and revealed all his cards. Don't rush to convict me. Let's see the full evidence first. Xiao Chen projected the complete email originals, chat logs, and audio recordings of the inside colleagues' actions onto the big screen, revealing the whole truth. Everyone could clearly see that Zhao Kai had bribed the colleague, sent the booby-trapped email, and colluded with external competitors to stage this leak hoax. His goal was to frame Xiao Chen and eliminate him. With ironclad evidence, the meeting room fell into dead silence. The managers who'd been joining the attacks turned pale. The smug grin on Zhao Kai's face froze. His pupils contracted. He never imagined that Xiao Chen had been prepared all along and had collected full evidence. The trap he'd so carefully laid hadn't harmed Xiao Chen at all. Instead, it was all exposed. Shen Hongling sat at the head of the table, her gaze icy. Zhao Kai's collusion with external enemies and framing of internal staff had crossed the group's bottom line. Per company policy, Zhao Kai was immediately stripped of his position. The Zhou family tried to use their connections to plead, but Shen Hongling showed no mercy and rejected them outright. Furthermore, the group retained the right to pursue legal action. Overnight, the once arrogant rich kid Zhao Kai fell from his high position. The schemer was caught in his own trap and destroyed himself. After this battle, Xiao Chen's standing in the group was completely redefined. No one dared to see him as just a slacking low-level employee. He was calm and meticulous. In the face of crisis, he stayed composed and turned the tables on his schemers. After the dust settled, only Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling remained in the office. Shen Hongling looked at Xiao Chen, her admiration deepening. I was worried you'd fall for the trap, but you saw through it all. Xiao Chen replied calmly. If you try to use dirty tricks on me, be prepared for the backlash. But Xiao Chen knew that Zhao Kai's entire family was behind him. Getting rid of Zhao Kai himself was just the start. The Zhao family wouldn't take this lying down. Bigger storms were still coming. When the Zhao family learned that their son had suffered a major defeat and lost his high-paying executive position, they were furious. The Zhao family had deep roots in the local business scene, with vast capital and an intricate network of connections. The family's top brass exerted heavy external pressure on Shen Hongling's group. On one hand, they threatened to withdraw multiple large cooperation deals and cut ties. On the other hand, they contacted allied business partners and spread word of a joint commercial blockade against Shen Hongling's group. They demanded that Shen Hongling hand over Xiao Chen to account for his actions. Suddenly, a major business crisis loomed over the group. Many partners, influenced by the Zhao family, began to waver. Some projects were put on hold, and the group's cash flow was hit. Within the group, some conservative executives began to waver. They urged Shen Hongling to compromise and fire Xiao Chen to appease the Zhao family and preserve the group's business. President Shen, offending such a powerful family for one ordinary employee, comes at too high a cost. It's not worth it. The Zhao family and their allies are blockading us. We'll suffer huge losses. We have to weigh the options. Only option is to sacrifice Xiao Chen. Pressure piled onto Shen Hongling. On one side was the man she truly liked, Xiao Chen. On the other was the livelihood of thousands of employees. A difficult choice lay before her. The Zhao family also sent word, privately contacting Xiao Chen, with threats and bribes. If he left the company voluntarily, they'd give him a huge sum of money. But if he refused to leave, they'd make sure he was blacklisted in the industry, with no prospects. Faced with this pressure, Xiao Chen flatly refused. He'd never be intimidated by threats. Shen Hongling resisted pressure from the conservative faction, and publicly declared she would never sacrifice Xiao Chen to appease the Zhao family. But the business crisis was real. Multiple business units were affected. The problem was urgent. Everyone seemed stumped and thought they were trapped. The Lau family's capital was too big. A head-on clash would be too costly. When the management was at a loss, Xiao Chen stepped forward and told Shen Hongling he had a way out. The top brass was skeptical. The Lau family was a long-established business powerhouse. Even the veteran executives had no solution. What could a former low-level employee possibly do? Many secretly thought Xiao Chen was bluffing, but Shen Hongling trusted him unconditionally. She gave him partial authority, allowing him to mobilize resources and take the lead. Few people knew that the seemingly lazy Xiao Chen was far from ordinary. He had broad knowledge and a unique insight into markets and business strategy. The impressive proposals he'd submitted before were just the tip of the iceberg. Xiao Chen didn't choose to fight the Zhao family head-on. Instead, he precisely targeted their fatal weakness. The Zhao family was pushing forward a crucial large-scale project. It involved massive capital and was their most important profit growth engine. But the project had major hidden risks. The Zhao family, blinded by profit, had deliberately ignored them. Xiao Chen quickly gathered all the intel. On one hand, he mobilized and allied with several small and medium enterprises that had been bullied by the Zhao family and struck precisely at their project's vulnerabilities. On the other hand, he presented several new business expansion strategies to help Shen Hongling's group open new markets and secure new customers, filling the gap left by the Lau family's withdrawal. Within days, the tide began to turn. The Lau family's prized project hit snags. Progress stalled. Capital was tied up. They were in no position to continue organizing a business blockade against Shen Hongling's group. The Zhou family's offensive collapsed. Meanwhile, with Xiao Chen's new strategies, Shen Hongling's group found new, high-quality partners. Business didn't just survive. It found new growth. The crisis had become an opportunity. The conservative executives who'd called for sacrificing Xiao Chen were stunned. They never imagined this unassuming young man could single-handedly dismantle the Lau family's capital storm. The Zhou family's scheme backfired. They ended up worse off, suffering heavy losses. The Zhou family's top brass was both shocked and enraged. They finally realized Xiao Chen was no ordinary person to be manipulated. After this battle, no one dared underestimate Xiao Chen. Shen Hongling promoted him on the spot to a higher position, with real authority, to participate in core project decisions. His status had changed dramatically, but Xiao Chen remained clear-headed. The Zhao family had suffered a major loss. Their hatred would only deepen. With open commercial tactics failing, they would likely resort to more insidious methods. Danger still lingered. After the total failure of their commercial pressure, the Deng family's top brass was consumed with rage. Unable to beat Xiao Chen in a fair business fight, some extremists within the Deng family turned to shady tactics. Since legitimate methods wouldn't work, they'd resort to gray area tactics to create trouble for Xiao Chen. They even wanted to physically harm him and force him to disappear. The Deng family secretly hired thugs to look for an opportunity to stage an accident and teach Xiao Chen a lesson. They also planned to spread malicious rumors and fabricate scandals about Xiao Chen to circulate online and in social circles, hoping to destroy his reputation. Their plan had two parts. First, flood the grapevine with rumors to ruin Xiao Chen's credibility. Then, hire people to make a move and cause an incident. Soon, baseless rumors began spreading everywhere. Whispers that Xiao Chen had climbed the ladder by cozying up to the female CEO, that he was corrupt and underhanded. They made up stories and smeared his name everywhere. The rumors spread far and wide, even inside the group. There was gossip. Some employees who didn't know the truth were misled and saw Xiao Chen through a prejudiced lens. Online, numerous anonymous accounts spammed the comments and spread smear campaigns. The Zhao family thought this combination would leave Xiao Chen overwhelmed and exhausted. But Xiao Chen had anticipated that if they couldn't win fair and square, they'd play dirty. Faced with the flood of rumors, Xiao Chen didn't panic. He wouldn't waste energy debating with gossiping bystanders. He assigned people to trace the anonymous accounts and find the source of the rumors. They quickly discovered that all the smear accounts were linked to the Zhao family. They gathered complete evidence and documented the entire chain of rumor mongering. At the peak of the smear campaign, Xiao Chen released all the evidence and made the trace records public. The ironclad proof was there for all to see. It was clear that the mastermind behind the slander was the Zhao family. The truth came out, and public opinion flipped. The bystanders realized that the Zhao family, unable to beat Xiao Chen, had hired people to smear him. The rumors immediately fell apart. Netizens turned against the Zhao family, condemning their underhanded tactics. This wave of rumors didn't hurt Xiao Chen. Instead, it damaged the Zhao family's public image and shattered their credibility. The smear campaign failed. The thugs hired by the Zhao family proceeded with their plan to ambush Xiao Chen. One night, after Xiao Chen finished work and left alone, several cars quietly followed him and cornered him on a quiet roadside. Several burly men got out of the cars and surrounded him menacingly. They threatened to teach Xiao Chen a lesson and make him regret crossing the Zhao family. A normal person facing this situation would be terrified. But Jing Chen was unfazed. He calmly dealt with the ambush. Even though he was outnumbered, he moved swiftly and subdued them all. Within moments, they hadn't expected that this mild-mannered young man could fight so well. Xiao Chen didn't harm them himself. After controlling them, he called the police. The police arrived and caught them red-handed. The Zhao family's hired thugs were taken in for questioning. Based on their confessions, the police traced the mastermind, and the Zhao family's involvement surfaced. Both of the Zhao family's insidious plans were foiled by Xiao Chen. They had failed again, and their key people were now entangled in criminal cases, suffering setback after setback. Through this series of events, Shen Hongling grew certain that Xiao Chen was not just intelligent, but calm and decisive in a crisis. Whether it was conspiracies, or physical threats. He handled everything perfectly. Late at night, with the city lights twinkling outside, the two stood side by side at the floor-to-ceiling window. Shen Hongling looked worried. The Zhou family won't give up after such losses. They won't take this lying down. Xiao Chen's eyes were resolute. Whatever they throw at me next, I'll handle it. If they keep provoking me, I'll make them pay an even steeper price. The Zhao family had been driven to desperation. There was no longer any room for reconciliation. A final, decisive confrontation was inevitable. Through battle after battle, Xiao Chen's abilities and resolve were on full display. Not only did Shen Hongling fall deeper in love with him, other exceptional women in his circle were also drawn to his unique qualities. First, the cultured heiress Su Qingyue. Su Qingyue was brilliant. With her own business empire, she had high standards and had met many wealthy heirs, but rarely found any man impressive. She'd witnessed the full course of Xiao Chen's confrontation with the Lao family at a previous business summit, seeing him stand firm under immense capital pressure, composed and strategic, time and again dismantling his enemies' schemes. Su Qingyue developed a strong admiration for Xiao Chen. She actively sought opportunities to connect with him, meeting frequently under the pretext of work. Her admiration for him was clear, and she didn't hide her feelings. Second, the capable female executive Lin Wan. Lin Wan was a true powerhouse who'd risen through the ranks at the group. Talented, efficient, and decisive. At first, she'd thought Xiao Chen was just lucky to be favored by the CEO. But after witnessing him navigate one crisis after another, and seeing his extraordinary skills, her opinion of him completely changed, and she slowly developed feelings for him. Then there was the lively and cheerful Xia Yao. She met Xiao Chen by chance, and was drawn to his steady demeanor. She approached him boldly. Multiple beautiful and talented women were all showing interest in Xiao Chen. His love life became complicated. Shen Hongling saw these women falling for him, and couldn't help but feel jealous. She was a proud and dominant CEO, with a strong sense of possessiveness. Seeing others get close to Xiao Chen left her conflicted. At a business reception, Su Qingyue approached Xiao Chen gracefully and engaged him in conversation. Her admiration was clear in her eyes. Shen Hongling saw it all. After the reception, a minor emotional conflict arose between them. Shen Hongling couldn't help but say, with a hint of jealousy, "You certainly have no shortage of admirers." Xiao Chen was caught off guard. He didn't want to get entangled in complex relationships, but these women had come to admire him after seeing his true abilities, not because of his status or wealth. Meanwhile, the Zhao family also noticed the many accomplished women around Xiao Chen. The remaining Zhao faction hatched another malicious plan. They wanted to use these women to stir up a scandal and sow discord, to drive a wedge between Xiao Chen and the women, to ruin his relationships. The Zhao family secretly hired people to take fake photos and create fabricated evidence of impropriety. They planned to cause conflicts between Xiao Chen, Shen Hongling, and the other women, and make them turn against each other. If all the women around Xiao Chen became enemies, he'd be consumed by internal strife. Fake screenshots and edited photos were anonymously sent to Shen Hongling, Su Qingyue, and Lin Wan. The vicious scheme was set in motion. With these forged pieces of evidence, the women faced a test. In a normal situation, seeing something like this would cause misunderstandings and create distance. Exactly what the villains wanted. But Shen Hongling, Su Qingyue, and the others were no simpletons. They were perceptive. Upon receiving the materials, they weren't blinded by emotion and didn't rush to confront Xiao Chen. They talked among themselves and quickly spotted the inconsistencies in the photos and screenshots. They saw through the ruse. It was an enemy plot to divide them. They all understood that this was the Dong family's scheme to sow discord. Instead of falling for it, they gave all the fabricated material to Xiao Chen. "It's their ploy. We can see it." Looking at the fake materials, A cold glint flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. The Zhang family was scraping the bottom of the barrel. Resorting to such low tactics, the enemy tried to use emotions to cause chaos. But all the women stayed clear-headed and didn't take the bait. The scheme failed. After this, Xiao Chen and the women became even more open with each other. Though their feelings for him were different, they all recognized the Liao family's malicious intent and stood united. Xiao Chen knew that the enemy had tried everything and was running out of options. The time for the final reckoning was near. With their smears and schemes and hired thugs all failing, the Zhou family suffered defeat after defeat. Their resources were depleted. Their key project crisis remained unsolved. Their cash flow was under increasing strain, and internal conflicts within the Liao family began to erupt, blaming each other and losing morale. But the Liao family's top brass refused to concede. They pinned all their hatred on Xiao Chen. They knew that if this continued, the Zhang family would spiral into decline, with no way out. They decided to go all in. Using the last of their strength, they launched a final, desperate commercial counterattack. A last gamble to cripple Shen Hongling's group and destroy Xiao Chen. The Zhao family poured massive cash reserves into a destructive price war. Willing to take short-term losses, they tried to poach Shen Hongling's core clients, while offering high salaries to entice group employees and bribe mid-level managers, hoping to undermine the group from within and steal confidential business intelligence. Seduced by the money, some weak-willed mid-level managers within the group were swayed by the Liao family's offers and betrayed the company, leaking internal client data and undisclosed product plans. Armed with this stolen information, the Zhang family struck precisely, stealing orders and engaging in price wars. In a short time, the group's business took a hit. Several long-term clients were lost, and performance declined. Crisis once again loomed. Morale inside the group was low. The Zhou family was emboldened and publicly vowed to make Shen Hongling and Xiao Chen pay with blood. Facing this desperate assault, many group executives felt immense pressure. A price war was a drain. The Zhou family was willing to burn money, and a direct war of attrition would cost the group dearly. Some suggested backing down and abandoning certain businesses to avoid the Liao family's attack. Xiao Chen stepped forward and firmly opposed retreat. The more you back down, the more the enemy pushes. Xiao Chen acted swiftly. First, he conducted an internal investigation to root out the traitors. Following the trail of the leaks, he quickly identified the bribed managers. With solid evidence, he dealt with the traitors immediately, cutting off the source of the leaks. With the internal rot removed, Xiao Chen didn't engage in a mindless price war. That would only drain resources. He took a different approach. Instead of competing on price, he focused on product and service upgrades, enhancing quality and value-added services. To target high-end clients who valued quality over price, he segmented the market, instead of fighting over low-end clients. At the same time, Xiao Chen targeted the Zhao family's critical weakness, their severely strained cash flow. Every order the Zhao family won in the price war cost them a fortune. They were running on fumes and couldn't sustain the battle. Xiao Chen allied with other companies the Zhao family had previously bullied and struck simultaneously at the Zhao family's remaining profitable businesses. Days passed. The Zhao family's temporary gains from burning cash quickly faded. Their massive subsidies rapidly depleted their cash reserves. Their capital was drying up. Their cash flow finally gave out. Their trapped major projects couldn't generate returns, and their new ventures were losing money. Their desperate counterattack lasted only a short time. Before they ran out of steam, the offensive collapsed. Their last gamble didn't destroy their enemies. It only accelerated their own downfall, pushing the Zhao family deeper into the abyss. The Zhao family's top brass panicked. Their desperate gamble had failed completely. At this point, the Zhao family's business power was nearly crushed by Xiao Chen. At the end of their rope, some extremists within the Dao family decided to abandon all rules and take one final, desperate measure. A true life and death crisis was quietly approaching Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling. With their business empire in ruins, the Dao family was exhausted. Their family businesses were on the brink of collapse. Generations of accumulated wealth were about to be destroyed. The extremists, led by Zhao Kai's father, had lost all reason. With all legal means exhausted, they decided to go all out and fight to the death. They no longer cared about competition and plotted an extreme action. They planned to directly target Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling. If they could eliminate these two key figures, all the crises would be resolved. The Liu family's remnants spent heavily to contact underworld connections and orchestrate a staged accident. They planned to stage a car crash while Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling were on the road and disguise it as a traffic accident. The plan was carefully crafted, using intermediaries to cover their tracks. They intended to make it look like a random incident. Danger was quietly closing in on Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling. But Xiao Chen had never let his guard down. After so many confrontations, he'd foreseen that a cornered enemy might resort to extreme measures. He had been monitoring the Liu family's remaining members, tracking their movements, and watching their finances. Unusual large money flows to underworld contacts were picked up by Xiao Chen's network. Following the trail, despite the layers of obfuscation, he sensed the grave danger. He immediately knew they were going to make a deadly move. Danger was imminent. Time was short. On the scheduled day, Xiao Chen was to accompany Shen Hongling to the outskirts for an important business meeting. That route was exactly where the enemy had planned to strike. They'd already deployed their vehicles and were waiting for the target to reach the ambush point. Xiao Chen, with the intelligence in hand, stayed calm and didn't raise the alarm. If he cancelled the trip, the enemy would realize they'd been exposed and go into hiding. They'd strike again another time. It was a never-ending threat. Xiao Chen decided to turn the tables, to follow the enemy's script, and spring his own trap, to catch the thugs and their Dao family masters in one net. He secretly contacted the police and handed over the financial evidence and intelligence on the suspects. He coordinated a police ambush. Meanwhile, he followed the original plan and arranged the vehicles to make it look like they were going ahead, to fool the watchers. The convoy departed as scheduled. The enemy lookouts, observing from a distance, saw the vehicles heading toward their ambush site and reported back. Giving the signal, the modified getaway vehicles moved in, following the convoy, waiting for the right moment to strike. Just as they were about to ram the target, the police ambush was sprung. Multiple police vehicles surrounded and trapped the attackers. They were caught before they could carry out the attack. With evidence in hand, the vehicles and tools were all seized. At first, the hired thugs tried to keep quiet and refused to name their employers. But the police had the financial transaction records, and through intensive interrogation, they broke the case. The chain of intermediaries was uncovered, leading straight to the Dao family's masterminds, Zhao Kai's father and other key extremists. With ironclad evidence, the Dao family's plot to commit grievous bodily harm was a serious criminal offense. The once prominent Dao family was now facing not a business dispute or a smear campaign, but a direct criminal investigation. The police moved swiftly to arrest the key Dao family figures. When the news broke, panic consumed the family. They fell apart. Their business was already on the verge of collapse, and with its leaders arrested, it was paralyzed. Debt crises erupted. Assets were frozen. Accounts were seized. Partners demanded payment. The once mighty Dao family had completely collapsed. The long-standing conflict had finally come to an end. All the villains received their just deserts. The crisis was resolved. The immense threat was gone. With the dust settled, Shen Hongling, who'd been tense for so long, finally relaxed. Having weathered so many life and death storms together, their bond was unbreakable. With the Lau family's downfall, the ringleaders were all arrested and sentenced. But their years of influence had left behind remnants of their network within the group. Some employees who'd been bought off were still there. They'd acted as informants or taken bribes. While not directly involved in the crimes, they'd previously helped the Dao family or obstructed Xiao Chen. Though the Dao family was gone, these leftovers were hidden bombs. Who knows if they might collude with other external forces in the future. In the aftermath, many within the group were uneasy. Those who'd taken bribes from the Zhang family were terrified of being held accountable, and some conservative executives who'd doubted Qin Zhuang were worried he'd retaliate. The board of directors called a major meeting to discuss internal reorganization. Some directors were concerned that a massive purge would cause instability and loss of talent. They advocated for a more lenient approach and not digging too deep. In the face of differing opinions, Xiao Chen voiced his view. Ordinary employees who were misled could be forgiven, but those who took the enemy's money and betrayed the company couldn't be kept. Letting them stay would only lead to trouble. Shen Hongling fully supported Xiao Chen. Thus, a thorough internal investigation was launched, led by Xiao Chen. It wasn't a wholesale purge. They made a distinction. There were two categories: ordinary employees who'd only spread rumors, but hadn't harmed the company, would be forgiven. No accountability. But those who'd taken Zhao family money, leaked information, and conspired with the Dao family, would be dismissed with evidence. And those with serious offenses would be held financially liable. During the investigation, some of the implicated managers resisted. They tried to use their connections, and even approached Xiao Chen privately, with bribes, hoping he'd let them off. Xiao Chen flatly refused all bribery. He submitted the evidence to HR, and acted fairly, without favoritism. Some of the dismissed were bitter, and spread rumors, claiming Xiao Chen was using his power to settle scores. But the investigation reports were made public. Everyone could see that every person who was disciplined had a proven record of harming the group's interests. The rumors were baseless, and quickly died down. After this internal cleanup, all remnants of the Dao family's influence were removed. The company culture was renewed, and the risk of internal threats was gone. Through all this, the board of directors finally acknowledged Xiao Chen's abilities. The old directors who doubted him, or held prejudices, had changed their minds. They could all see that Xiao Chen had pulled the group from the brink. Many times, the board proposed promoting him further to a top executive position with significant decision-making power. But Xiao Chen wasn't swayed by the offer. He weighed the options, accepted the new role, but declined some privileges, and defined his boundaries clearly. With all internal and external problems resolved, Xiao Chen could finally turn his attention back to his personal life. Shen Hongling, Su Qingyue, Ling Wan, Xia Yao, each with their own personalities, had all been sincere with him. A complicated multi-angled relationship lay before him, and he needed to handle it.
Like and subscribe to follow the continuation of this story.
All external enemies had been completely destroyed. All business crises had been settled. But the emotional entanglements still lingered between Xiao Chen and the several women. Going back to the very beginning, it all started with the connection between Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling from the internet. Back then, Shen Hongling used the online alias Fox Spirit Little Red to meet and fall in love with Xiao Chen online, but deliberately hid her true identity as a female CEO. Although after going through countless trials, the two had already weathered life and death crises together. Deep down in Xiao Chen's heart, there was still a small knot, Why had Shen Hongling concealed her true identity in the first place? When they first started their online relationship, Shen Hongling, as an ordinary netizen, had talked freely with him about life and ideals. They had a deep connection. But offline, she was the Ice Queen CEO who controlled billions in assets. This relationship, from the very start, was wrapped in a layer of disguised identity. Even though they had now stood side by side against life-threatening crises, Xiao Chen would still occasionally wonder, back when he fell in love online, was it the real Shen Hongling he loved? Or that virtual online persona? Fox Spirit Little Red. Shen Hongling also harbored her own insecurities. She had chosen to hide her identity because of a sense of inferiority. She was afraid that if Xiao Chen knew from the start that she was the high and mighty group CEO, a gap would form, a sense of distance. And because of the status difference, he wouldn't dare to give his true heart. She was afraid that Xiao Chen only liked that gentle online persona, and not the strong, forceful version of her in reality, who carried the immense weight of the group on her shoulders. One late night, with the city's myriad lights twinkling, in the vast CEO's office, only the two of them remained. The knot that had been buried in their hearts for so long was finally brought to light. They opened their hearts to each other, holding nothing back, for a thorough, deep conversation. Back then, what kind of mindset did you have when you came online to chat with me? Xiao Chen asked calmly. Shen Hongling's eyes held a hint of anxiety as she slowly recounted her inner story. The female CEO, who normally commanded a huge group with decisive authority, shed all her hard outer shells and revealed her soft, vulnerable side. The pressure at work was immense. Everyone around her only showed her respect and flattery. There was no one she could confide in as an equal. By chance, online, she met Xiao Chen. The online Xiao Chen wasn't afraid of her wealth or status. They communicated as equals. And he dared to speak the truth. Their souls were in sync. Under the anonymous protection of the internet, she could finally take off her CEO mask and be her true self, and have a relationship unburdened by her identity. At first, I just wanted to find someone I could talk to as an equal. But as we kept chatting, I started to fall for you. I liked you more and more. But I didn't dare to reveal my identity. I was afraid that the moment the truth came out, everything would fall apart. Shen Hongling laid bare her inner struggle. From the deep connection online, to the joy of recognizing Xiao Chen in real life, and the agony of not being able to reveal the truth. She desperately wanted to get close to him, while simultaneously fearing that the truth would shatter her dream. That's why in real life, she couldn't help but approach Xiao Chen again and again. After hearing every word from Shen Hongling's heart, Xiao Chen was silent for a long time. Scenes from their online chats over the past 6 months, and moments from their real-life interactions, interwove in his mind. He finally understood clearly that what he loved was never the virtual shell of the username, Fox Spirit Little Red. The values, personality, and thoughts revealed during their online chats were all the true core of Shen Hongling herself. The online alias was just an outer layer. The soul within had always been the woman in front of him. The knot was finally untied. The barrier caused by the deception about identity had completely dissolved. But at this time, Su Qingye, Ling Wan, and Xia Yao had also given him their sincere hearts. Their feelings for Xiao Chen were equally weighty. Su Qingye, wise and perceptive, was the first to speak openly. She wouldn't force a result. Meeting Xiao Chen, she had no regrets. No matter how things ended, she respected his choice and would maintain a graceful distance. The capable female executive, Ling Wan, also spoke her mind. Having weathered storms together was already enough. She wouldn't insist on a specific outcome. The lively young girl, Xia Yao, though reluctant, also didn't want to force anything. None of the women were hysterical or jealous. Having gone through life and death battles together against the Zhao family, they had also developed a bond of mutual respect. Faced with so many sincere feelings, Xiao Chen didn't give a hasty or impulsive answer. He understood that feelings couldn't be dealt with carelessly. With internal threats cleared, the Zhao family destroyed, and emotional knots untied, the brief peace didn't last long. The group had just resolved the Zhao family crisis, and barely had time to catch its breath before a new, enormous external challenge emerged. A large-scale business conglomerate from outside the region had set its sights on the local market. This cross-regional giant had immense strength, far exceeding that of the Zhao family. Its capital power was terrifying. It wanted to forcefully enter the local market, and planned to acquire, including Shen Hongling's group, a large number of local businesses. To achieve regional market monopoly, the giant was flush with cash, and launched an aggressive expansion from the start, pouring in huge sums of money to frantically acquire local small and medium-sized companies, poaching talent from all over, using its massive capital to squeeze the living space of local businesses. Many established local companies were either forced to be acquired, or, under the weight of the capital onslaught, were beaten back step by step. With their living space constantly compressed, the entire local business community was gripped by fear. Soon, this outside giant turned its gaze to Shen Hongling's group. Shen Hongling's group was the local industry leader, with a large number of high-quality clients and channel resources, making it the giant's prime target. The giant sent representatives to negotiate, and directly made an acquisition offer, giving two options: either accept the acquisition and be swallowed up, with the top management receiving a payout, and some retaining their positions. If they refused, the giant would use all its capital might, at any cost, to launch an all-out business war, and completely crush the company. A naked capital threat. When the news reached the board, immense pressure fell on everyone's shoulders. The outside giant's capital scale was on an entirely different level from the Zhao family. The Zhao family was just a local family business. This opponent was a cross-regional commercial behemoth. A head-on confrontation would be several times more dangerous than fighting the Zhao family. Major divisions emerged within the board. Some directors were tempted by the acquisition offer, and felt that instead of fighting a powerful giant to the death, it was better to accept the acquisition and take the money, to avoid being crushed. Other directors firmly opposed being swallowed up. They didn't want to hand over their hard-built local business to outside capital. But they had no feasible plan for how to resist the giant. The two factions argued fiercely. Shen Hongling was under immense pressure. Choosing to fight meant a battle with almost no chance of survival. Everyone's eyes once again fell on Xiao Chen. In previous crises, he had turned the tide. This time, they hoped he could come up with a counter-strategy. Xiao Chen calmly analyzed the opponent. Though the outside giant had money and power, it also had fatal weaknesses. It was an outsider, unfamiliar with the real needs of local users. It had acquired a pile of disparate companies, and was struggling with internal integration and management bloat. To expand quickly, it had spread its operations too thin, and many hidden problems lurked within. The opponent had strong capital, but was not without flaws. Surrendering would mean handing over the businesses built over generations. But a head-on capital war would also drain them dry. They needed to differentiate themselves, and play to their local strengths, and exploit the opponent's weaknesses. Xiao Chen outlined a complete strategy. Don't compete with the giant on overall capital scale. Instead, double down on local advantages. Allied with other local businesses unwilling to be swallowed up, they would form a united local business alliance, complementing each other's resources, leveraging their knowledge of the local market to provide localized services the giant couldn't. Some local entrepreneurs were afraid of retaliation from the giant and were reluctant to join the alliance. Xiao Chen visited them one by one and explained the situation clearly. If the leading company, Shen Hongling's group, fell, the giant would then pick off all the remaining local businesses one by one. No one could escape. After some persuasion, many local businesses made up their minds and chose to stand together, forming a business alliance. A commercial war between local businesses and an outside capital giant had begun. When the outside giant saw that Shen Hongling's group refused to be acquired and had even formed a local business alliance, its top brass was furious. The giant immediately launched a crackdown, deploying its massive capital in a full-scale assault. First move: offer sky-high salaries, paying double or triple, to poach key talent from the allied companies. Many technical and business experts were tempted by the huge pay raises. Second move: capital blockade, using its capital power to approach financial institutions and create obstacles for the allied companies' financing, cutting off loan channels and squeezing their cash flow. Small and medium businesses are most vulnerable to cash flow issues. If they can't get loans, their operations are in immediate danger. Third move: steal clients, use subsidies and ultra-low prices to poach clients willing to lose money, to grab market share, and squeeze the alliance's living space. With these three moves, the alliance soon felt enormous pressure. Many small and medium businesses within the alliance couldn't withstand it. Some lost key technical talent to the giant's high salaries. Others couldn't get bank loans and faced cash flow difficulties. Clients were stolen by low prices, and revenue fell. The giant didn't just attack externally. It also used divide-and-conquer tactics, secretly contacting weak-willed business owners within the alliance with threats and bribes. If they left the alliance and submitted to the giant, they would get investment orders and financial support. If they continued to resist, they would be targeted and crushed. With threats and bribes working together, under immense pressure, cracks began to appear within the alliance. Several small businesses, unable to bear the pressure, wavered and secretly contacted the outside giant, choosing to betray the alliance and switch sides. The alliance's front line was breached. The traitorous companies also leaked the alliance's business plans and intelligence to the outside giant. Armed with this leaked information, the giant struck precisely, targeting and disrupting the alliance's business moves. The situation took a sharp turn for the worse. The local alliance was on the defensive. The situation was critical. Some business owners who were still holding on began to panic and doubt the alliance's future. Many felt that resisting such an overwhelming giant was hopeless. Continuing would only bleed them dry. Panic spread quickly, and morale was low. It seemed the entire local alliance was about to collapse from within. Within the board, pessimistic voices grew louder. Many advised Xiao Chen and Shen Hongling to be realistic. The cost of continued resistance was too high. Better to negotiate a compromise while they could. Faced with this passive situation, Xiao Chen remained calm. He knew the most dangerous thing now wasn't the opponent's capital strength, but the crumbling morale within the alliance. If the will collapsed, even with resources, defeat was certain. Xiao Chen acted immediately. First, he investigated thoroughly, quickly identifying the companies that had betrayed the alliance and leaked information. Instead of wasting time trying to persuade them, Xiao Chen presented the evidence of their betrayal to all the alliance members, so everyone could see clearly. that the short-term gains from betrayal were just bait thrown by the giant. Once the giant controlled the market, these defectors would also be devoured. They wouldn't get a good outcome. At the same time, Xiao Chen quickly adjusted the strategy to address the cash flow problem by mobilizing resources within the alliance, setting up an internal mutual aid fund for capital turnover, where businesses could lend to each other, easing the crisis caused by blocked bank loans. To address the talent poaching, he optimized internal incentive structures, using equity and development prospects to retain key staff, rather than just competing on salary. While stabilizing the alliance, Xiao Chen also looked for the giant's fatal weakness. The massive giant was expanding at high speed, acquiring companies frantically, and spreading itself too thin. Many acquisitions hadn't been properly integrated. On the surface, the financials looked impressive, but internally, huge financial risks were accumulating. What Xiao Chen needed to do was wait for the right moment and strike a fatal blow at the giant's hidden vulnerabilities. The outside giant, relying on its deep pockets, continued its fierce assault. The local alliance remained under enormous pressure, but the aftereffects of the giant's frantic acquisition spree were building up. The many acquired companies were poorly integrated and managed chaotically. Many acquired businesses continued to lose money and were kept alive only by constant cash infusions from the parent group. On paper, revenue figures looked impressive, but real profits were being eaten away by the loss-making businesses. Debt kept piling up. To expand quickly, the giant had taken on massive debt, and its financial structure was extremely fragile. Only the massive outer shell concealed the many hidden dangers within. Most outsiders only saw the giant's size and didn't see the enormous risks lurking beneath the surface. Xiao Chen continuously gathered the giant's financial and operational data, peeling back the layers to systematically identify all its internal vulnerabilities. The giant was now like a huge balloon, large on the outside, but dangerously fragile inside. If he could find the right spot and pierce it hard, the inflated bubble of expansion would burst instantly. But the timing wasn't perfect yet. He couldn't act prematurely. If he struck too early, the giant could still use its remaining resources to patch things up, and wouldn't achieve a decisive breakthrough. Xiao Chen chose to bide his time, steadily holding the alliance's front line, and enduring the opponent's attacks, while patiently waiting for the optimal moment. The giant's top brass, seeing that the alliance hadn't collapsed, despite losing some members, grew impatient. To deliver a final blow, the giant decided to borrow a huge amount of money again, and prepare a massive, unprecedented cash injection for a final offensive to completely crush the local alliance led by Shen Hongling's group. This large-scale new borrowing pushed the giant's own financial risk to the breaking point. The opportunity Xiao Chen had been waiting for had finally arrived. Right now, Xiao Chen seized the moment and launched his full counterattack plan. First, he submitted the comprehensively verified and detailed documents on the giant's internal business losses, high debt levels, and failed integrations to financial rating agencies and major investment markets. The real internal risks were exposed to the capital markets. The markets were immediately shaken. Investors saw the huge risks hidden beneath the giant's flashy exterior. Panic spread. The giant's stock price plummeted, and its market value evaporated rapidly. Second, targeting the giant's critical moment of new debt accumulation, he coordinated with multiple institutions to conduct a collective assessment of the giant's risky operations. Market confidence in the giant collapsed. It was now extremely difficult for the giant to borrow more money. Funding channels tightened immediately. Previously, the giant's expansion had depended on continuous capital injections. With market confidence shattered and funding channels restricted, its lifeline was effectively cut. The many loss-making acquisitions still needed cash to operate. Now, with no external borrowing and tightening internal cash flow, the massive group immediately faced a liquidity crisis. The giant that had been preparing a massive cash offensive couldn't get the money. Its grand attack plan died before it started. Its aggressive external tactics suddenly lost momentum. No money to continue subsidizing client poaching. No money for the sky-high talent raids. All its offensive moves ground to a halt. The situation had completely reversed. The once rampant outside giant was now mired in a huge internal crisis. It was too busy dealing with its own mess and had no strength left to attack the local alliance. The once precarious local business alliance had gone from the brink of collapse to an incredible comeback. The businesses in the alliance that had been panicking saw the tide turn, and their morale soared. Those that had been wavering and considering surrendering to the giant now completely abandoned that idea and stood firm with the alliance. The companies that had betrayed the alliance and defected suffered badly. The giant, preoccupied with its own crisis, couldn't deliver the resources it had promised, and, with its business shrinking, it abandoned them entirely. Those companies fell into dire straits. With this clear example, no one dared to betray the alliance again. The outside giant's plan to sweep the local market had failed miserably. It hadn't been able to swallow the local leader, and instead got bogged down in financial quicksand, frantically trying to clean up its internal mess. After this battle, Xiao Chen's prestige reached its peak. Not only was his position within Shen Hongling's group unshakable, but across the entire local business community, Xiao Chen's name became a legend. Countless entrepreneurs spoke of Xiao Chen with deep admiration. The major external crisis was resolved, but with it came new opportunities. The outside giant had retreated in defeat, too preoccupied with its own problems to continue its invasion. The existential threat hanging over the local businesses had vanished. The war was over. But Xiao Chen didn't choose to stop and rest on his laurels. The crisis had also brought unprecedented opportunities. After the giant's defeat, a large market void was left behind. At the same time, the local business alliance forged in battle was more united than ever. With integrated resources, it had tremendous growth potential. Xiao Chen seized this window of opportunity and rolled out a complete new development plan. First, consolidate the alliance's cooperation framework. No longer just a temporary emergency measure, but a permanent, deep collaboration platform, where companies would share resources, technology, and channels, and complement each other's strengths, to avoid destructive internal competition, and collectively build a stronger local industry. Many local businesses, which had previously operated at a small scale, with limited vision, were introduced by Xiao Chen to more advanced business concepts. He helped many small and medium companies optimize their models and break through growth bottlenecks. Thanks to this opportunity, a large number of local businesses experienced upgrades and rapid growth. Next, Shen Hongling's group, capitalizing on the victory's momentum, expanded its business boundaries. No longer sticking to its original turf, it began to radiate outward to surrounding cities, steadily expanding its reach. Xiao Chen also spearheaded several new business lines, tapping into market trends and entering new sectors. The group's business scale experienced explosive growth. Performance climbed steadily. The company's size had multiplied several times over. With rapid expansion, many new positions were created, and a large number of talented people were needed. Xiao Chen hired based on merit alone, regardless of background. He valued true ability and promoted many talented people from the bottom ranks. Internally, the group was thriving, with a vibrant, flourishing atmosphere. Career was soaring. But Xiao Chen wasn't blinded by success. He understood that the bigger the company grew, the greater the responsibility. Once a company grew large, it couldn't just focus on profit. Xiao Chen pushed the group to implement many social responsibility projects, supporting local entrepreneurship, helping develop the local industrial chain, and giving back to the community. As his status rose, more and more people wanted to curry favor with him and get close to him. All kinds of wealthy figures and socialites were eager to connect. Invitations to dinners, receptions, and social events came in non-stop. Many wanted to build relationships, offer gifts, and promise favors. Faced with this constant stream of social engagements and temptations, Xiao Chen chose carefully. He rejected many useless banquets and receptions. He wasn't swayed by sweet talk, and stayed true to his principles. Many people, seeing Xiao Chen's immense resources and high status, began to wonder. Now that he had achieved fame and fortune, how would he handle his personal life? Shen Hongling, Su Qingye, Lin Wan, Xia Yao. These women, all with distinct personalities, and all sincere with him, remained by his side. As his career reached its peak, the final choice in love drew closer. Shen Hongling, who now ran the vast group, having weathered so many storms, was no longer just the aloof, Ice Queen CEO she'd been before. Having gone through the fight against the Zhao family, and the resistance against the outside giant, witnessing life and death crises, she had learned to view love with greater equanimity. She no longer obsessed over possession, but cherished the time spent together even more. Su Qingye's own career was also growing steadily. She was both a kindred spirit and a business partner to Xiao Chen. Ling Wan held a senior position in the group, and became a powerful right hand to Xiao Chen in his career. Even the lively Xia Yao had matured greatly, shedding her childishness. All of them were growing and evolving, just as everything was heading in a great direction. A small group of remnants from the already destroyed Zhao family emerged to cause trouble. The Zhao family's masterminds and key figures had all been arrested and sentenced, their businesses bankrupt. But a few peripheral relatives had smelled danger early on, slipped away with some assets, and escaped justice. These fugitives were filled with deep-seated hatred, watching their family destroyed. They blamed all their misfortune on Xiao Chen. Seeing Xiao Chen now at the height of his glory, with his business empire expanding, and his status rising, their jealousy and hatred grew fiercely. They had no capital left, no companies, and no strength for a commercial confrontation. So they pinned all their hopes on dirty tricks. These remnants, hiding in the shadows, were unwilling to accept their total defeat, and planned one last disruptive move. They knew that openly. They had no way to harm Xiao Chen, so they focused on public opinion and reputation. They gathered old, fragmented information, took it out of context, distorted and fabricated it, to create a mountain of dirt. They twisted past business conflicts, and painted them in a bad light, to maliciously smear Xiao Chen, spreading rumors that Xiao Chen had used unfair methods to destroy the Zhao family, and plunder their assets through schemes. They distorted the story of the fight against the outside giant, claiming Xiao Chen used shady tactics to crush his rivals. Not just attacking Xiao Chen, they also targeted Shen Hongling and the other women, fabricating scandalous rumors, spreading gossip, and maliciously speculating about their relationships, making up sordid stories. They paid for large-scale distribution across various online platforms, hoping to start a major public relations storm and ruin Xiao Chen's reputation. Even if they couldn't bring him down, they wanted to create trouble for him and sling mud. These remnants also secretly contacted some disgruntled businessmen and disgruntled former employees, offering them benefits to join them and pretend to be victims. who'd been wronged by Xiao Chen, creating the illusion that many people had been harmed. Suddenly, online, a wave of negative content erupted, with all sorts of twisted stories circulating. Some netizens, unaware of the full truth, were misled by the decontextualized content. A significant online controversy brewed. The group's PR department wanted to start a massive rebuttal campaign immediately. Xiao Chen stopped them. Don't rush to publicly argue. The more you engage in a war of words, the more the opponent will use it to keep the controversy alive and gain traction. Xiao Chen's approach was clear. First, don't follow their script by arguing online. Instead, assign a team to trace the origin, find the source of the rumors, and locate the fugitive Zhao remnants. Gather all the evidence of defamation. Second, release objective, complete historical records of the past conflicts with the Zhao family, including how they framed Xiao Chen, hired thugs, and ultimately broke the law, along with the complete data from the fight against the outside giant, all made publicly available, using the full facts to shatter the decontextualized lies. When the complete truth was revealed, any netizen with common sense could see that the online smears were all distortions and lies. Public opinion began to shift. At the same time, based on the traced leads, and in coordination with the police, they located where the fugitive Zhao remnants were hiding. These criminals, who'd been hiding behind the internet to cause trouble, thought they could escape justice by lying low in another city and spread rumors anonymously. Little did they know, their whereabouts had already been exposed. The police moved quickly and, traveling to other cities, arrested all the Zhao fugitives with solid evidence of defamation and incitement. These remnants who'd escaped for so long were finally all in custody and faced justice. The Zhao family's story had come to a definitive end. All who had done wrong were vanquished. After the dust settled, the online rumors completely dissipated. Through this trial of malicious slander, Xiao Chen's story became better known to more people, which only increased their admiration for his journey. All the enemies from the past had been completely dealt with. No lingering threats remained. A high-profile cross-regional business summit was held locally, attended by numerous business tycoons and entrepreneurs from surrounding cities. This was the most prestigious event in the region's business world. Shen Hongling's group was one of the most important host companies, and Xiao Chen, as a core figure of the group, naturally had to attend this highly anticipated summit. Also present were representatives of companies that had once sided with the outside giant. When the outside giant invaded, these businesses had chosen to stand with it against the local alliance. Now that the giant had retreated in defeat, those companies were in an awkward position. They came to the summit, partly to mend relations with the local business community, and partly to see for themselves what the now famous Xiao Chen was really like. The summit was filled with celebrities and elites, with many watching Xiao Chen. Once, he had been just an ordinary low-level employee. Now, in a short time, he'd risen to the top, dismantled the Zhao family, defeated the outside capital beast, and reshaped the region's business landscape. Many had heard of his legendary journey. Among the attendees, some who'd once sided with the outside giant weren't entirely convinced. They thought Xiao Chen's success was partly due to luck, and wanted to test him publicly, to see him stumble. During the summit's roundtable discussion, Xiao Chen was given a speaking slot. When he took the stage, thousands of eyes in the audience were fixed on him. A business leader immediately threw a sharp, tricky question, with a probing tone and hidden traps, trying to catch Xiao Chen off guard. Mr. Xiao, you're still young, and have risen quickly. Many say your success is largely due to President Shen's support. What's your take on that? This question was a trap. If he agreed, he'd be admitting he rode on a woman's coattails. If he argued vehemently, he'd seem petty. The room fell silent. Everyone waited for his response. Facing this sharp, difficult question, Xiao Chen was composed and unhurried. He spoke calmly. Opportunities can be given to you by others, but whether you can seize them depends on your own vision and ability. Shen Hongling gave me a platform to showcase my talents. That's my good fortune. But when crises came, resolving them depended on real judgment and strategy. Opportunities only favor those with the ability to take them. His answer was neither humble nor arrogant. He acknowledged the platform Shen Hongling provided, while clearly asserting his own capability. Neither arrogant nor self-deprecating. Many entrepreneurs in the audience nodded in approval. Another opponent pressed further, using the past business conflicts with the Zhao family and the outside giant to imply Xiao Chen's methods were too harsh. Xiao Chen responded directly. In business, I've never been the one to provoke others. But if someone comes for me, frames me, suppresses me, and tries to push me and those around me into a corner, then I will inevitably fight back. Business competition can be about products, vision, and insight. But it cannot involve framing, slandering, or hiring thugs. Any opponent who crosses that line must face the consequences. His words were rational, powerful, and commanding. Several business figures who'd come to probe and challenge him were all calmly diffused by Xiao Chen. They found no opening to attack. Thunderous applause erupted from the audience. The entrepreneurs who'd been skeptical or prejudiced were completely won over by Xiao Chen's composure and vision. After the round-table discussion, many entrepreneurs approached him, wanting to make connections and seek cooperation. Even several business leaders who'd sided with the outside giant came to extend an olive branch, hoping to let bygones be bygones and explore future collaboration. At the summit, Xiao Chen shone brightly in the spotlight. He made a powerful public statement at the summit's evening gala. As night fell, Shen Hongling, Su Qingye, Lin Wan, and Xia Yao were all in attendance. The five of them stood out in the crowd. Many eyes lingered on them. Everyone was curious about what Xiao Chen's final choice in matters of the heart would be. His career had reached its peak. Next came the final answer sheet for his heart.